Have you ever logged into a Linux machine, typed ls/, and just kind of stared at that list of folders, wondering what on earth they all do? Well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going on a guided tour of the Linux file system. We're going to break down its structure piece by piece so it all makes perfect sense.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off at the absolute foundation, the root. Then we'll dive into the system's toolbox, take a peek at the control center, check out the library and the warehouse, and finally, we'll land right in your personal user space. By the end, you'll have the whole layout down.
And this is going to be our map for the whole trip. Think of this as the blueprint for pretty much any Linux system out there. Every single one of the key directories we're about to talk about is laid out right here, so you can see how it all connects. It's the perfect guide to understanding the logic behind it all. Okay, let's start our tour at the single most important location in the entire system, the root. Seriously, understanding this one directory is the absolute key, because everything, and I really do mean everything, stems from right here.
So the root directory is represented by just a single /. That's it. It's the top level, the ultimate container. Now, if you're coming from the Windows world, you might be looking for a C drive or a D drive. Well, you can forget all that. In Linux, there is only one single file tree, and this is its base. Every single path to every single file starts from this one point.
So, branching right off from that root foundation, we find the system's toolbox. These are the folders that hold the essential commands that let us, actually interact with and control the whole system.
First up is /bin, which is short for binaries, and binaries are essentially just the executable programs. You should think of this as the basic toolbox that every single user on the system gets to access. It's got all the fundamental commands you need for just interacting with the OS.
And when I say fundamental, I mean it. Anytime you type ls to list files or cp to copy something, you are literally running a small program that lives right here inside the /bin directory. This is the absolute core of your command line experience.
Now, right next to /bin is its more powerful sibling, /sbin. The S here is super important. It stands for system or super user. This directory holds the tools that are needed for system administration, commands that can change the state of the entire system.
So the key takeaway here is this separation of powers. /bin is for everyday user tasks that aren't going to hurt the system. /sbin is for the really powerful administrative stuff, like formatting a disk or rebooting the machine. This separation is a core security feature of Linux, and it's what helps keep the system safe.
All right, so we've got our tools, but how do those tools and the system itself even know how to behave? For that, we need to visit the system's brain, the control center where all the configuration is stored. And that brain is Etsy, which is pronounced Etsy. Just think of it as the central control panel for your entire system. Almost every single program and service, from your network settings to your user accounts, looks in here to find its configuration files. And the really beautiful part is, they're almost all just plain text files. And just look at how critical this stuff is. The password file defines who your users are. fstab tells the system which hard drives to connect to at startup. A tiny change to a file inside /etc can completely change how your entire system works. It's powerful stuff.
Now for something really unique, the proc directory. This isn't a real directory with files on your disk. Nope, it's a virtual file system that the system creates in memory. It gives you a live window into the kernel and all the processes that are running. It's like having a real-time diagnostic dashboard for your whole system. So we have our tools and we have our control panel, but where do all the applications you actually install live? And what about all the data that's constantly changing, like log files? Well, that brings us to the system's library and its warehouse. Okay, don't let the name fool you. USR does not stand for user. It actually stands for Unix System Resources. This is usually one of the largest directories on any system because it holds the vast majority of your applications, your programs, their documentation, basically all the software you install that isn't part of the core operating system.
And you'll probably notice a familiar pattern here. Inside USR, you'll find another USR bin and another USR lib, which mirrors the structure we saw at the top level. This is all about organization. It's for applications installed by you or a package manager, and it keeps them neatly separated from the essential system binaries back in bin.
Speaking of libraries, let's talk about the main /lib directory. The programs in /bin and /sbin, they aren't totally self-contained. They rely on shared pieces of code to work correctly, and all those pieces live right here in /lib. It's a system of shared resources that stops code from being duplicated all over the place and keeps the whole system really efficient.
Next up is var, and its name is a huge clue. It's short for variable. This is the system's warehouse. Its whole purpose is to hold files that are expected to grow and change, or vary, over time. So anything that isn't static, like a config file or a program, probably belongs somewhere in here. For example, system log files are constantly getting bigger, so they live in var/log. When you print something, it might sit in a queue in var/spool for a little bit. This separation of static data from variable data is just crucial for system management, for backups, and for overall stability. We're on the home stretch now. We've seen the core system, the tools, and the data. So now let's look at the part of the file system that is all about you, the user.
The home directory is basically the residential district of your Linux system. For every regular user account you create, a personal folder gets made right here. This is where you'll store your documents, your downloads, your pictures, all your personal stuff. It's your own private space on the system.
But what about the most powerful user, the system administrator, also known as root? While the root user doesn't get a folder in the normal /home directory, they get their own special, secure home directory located right at the top level, and it's simply called /root.
And this really highlights that key theme one last time: security through separation. Keeping the administrator's home directory out of the general /home area isolates it. It protects the admin's files and just reinforces that clean, secure structure that we've been seeing all over the system. And there you have it, a full guided tour of the Linux file system. We've seen how its logical, hierarchical structure is built from the ground up for stability and security, from the system's foundation right up to your own personal files. So now that you've got the map, which directory are you going to go explore first? Thanks for joining me.